Alright, my loves, it's 2003 and it's the year of all things long running, like shopping centres in Birmingham, the last Concorde flight, and jail sentences for murderers. Oh, and we're also replacing old with new at the Royal Myle too.
And there's definitely nothing else going on in the world that's going to last for decades. Nothing at all. Hiya guys, it is 2003 and the park has just spent a ridiculous amount of money on a brand new entrance to bring it into the modern era, and now it's time for the rest of the park to follow suit. Now, we discovered in the 1990 tour that the kill list I've got is it's rather long, and we've been working through it over the last couple of years quite slowly, but the next 10 years or so is going to see that accelerate. There's going to be massive modernisation for the park, and this is the era of those really brutal, hard to make decisions that I've been avoiding doing. But it has been 3 years since the entrance. This is a good place to start. There were two really old, and I mean like falling apart old rides in this spot. Now, I do want this to be a really quick episode because I am away for work again and I need to free up some space. And I'm just going to give you a heads up. There's a rather lot of stuttering going on in this build. Every single series I do, there is a turning point, a tipping point, and the park has reached it. So I have actually ordered a brand new computer. So this stuttering won't last for long, so please bear with me. But this is the area that we are working with. You will see already that there are three massive changes. The test flight has gone. The zipper has gone. And we've now got a drop tower or a shot tower or shower, whatever you want to call it, in this area. And then, of course, you saw in the previous episode with the entrance that we got the cable cars, and I didn't get a chance to do the station over in this area. So this is now where the station is. You can see in the background here that the ice cream shop that's been here since 1930, I've kept it just in case, but sorry guys, I think it's time for it to go. I think it's had its day. So anyway, these are the rides that I've chosen. I have always wanted to put this ride in this spot since we did the western area, right? So this has always been the place for this. I've had to do just a tiny bit of terrain work here just to make it work because the pad just doesn't like it. And of course I need to put the queue line and stuff in here, but it's fine, it's all good. The zipper has also gone. That ride probably wouldn't have lasted until the year 2000 anyway. It probably would have been replaced long before this, but now is the time to do it because we're working on this area. So it's sitting in the pretty much the exact same spot. You can see where the outline of the original pad was. But what I've done is I've actually extended the queue line, remembering that this is now going to be a busy park and this is going to be a busy ride. So I've brought the queue line around the back of the ride, and we've entered into the usual cattle pen, which is actually following a similar pathway to the original queue, as you can see from the fence. But this time it's now being brought around the back of this gift shop, and it enters into a cattle pen and back this way, and that would be like your overflow queue, and I just need to put fencing and stuff in this area. Of course, here is the cable cars. That's all sitting quite nicely. I'm just going to do the same station building design that we've got over in the entrance. It feels like it needs to be consistent, but I do need to just finish this off and make it a thing. And then the drop tower down here, again, I always wanted to put a drop tower in this space. Like even when the Lupo plane was in, that was the perfect place for it. But now we actually need to make it an official thing. I might just need to do some work to the toilets and modernize those slightly. And I do also want to do some work around here with the it's not the Lido, it's the lagoon. So I want to do some work with the lagoon down here and just bring that into life. I'm going to show you more about the cable cars when I am done, because there's some interesting stuff that I've done here. I'll show you in a minute. I'll see you in a minute, guys. Ah, here you go then, guys. It's simple and effective. And I was kind of thinking to myself when I was doing all of this that this really isn't much to look at. Like, how is this going to be an interesting episode? But then I did remember that when theme parks open their flat rides, they're exactly that. It's simple and effective. Like, Submission at Alton Towers, it was exactly this. So, it's simple and effective. And the build you got here is that times 3. Done. Happy days. Right, I left you on a cliffhanger really, didn't I? Because I was talking about the cable cars and I was like, oh, I need to get this done before I show you. So this is what I was going to talk about. The pillars for the cable cars are strategically placed, and a lot of this has actually been placed around the placing of those pillars. So for example, we've got the 2 here that are either side of the gift shop. That's not an accident, that's a planned thing. And then we come through this way, and again, the pillar here by the railway line, that's totally deliberate. The one that's here is totally deliberate, but the best one, I couldn't even make this up, right? I couldn't even make it up if I tried. These 3 here. So this one here, this one that slots real nicely down the side of the building. Look at that. Yes. And then this one outside the pirate ride, and of course that theme then continues. There's one right in the middle here, there's one right there, and then of course there's one side of the Woody and the other side of the Woody. So yeah, okay, you can do 40-meter length, so it's not exactly that impressive, right? To go, oh, well done, your pillars all line up, ha 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 ha. But it's this bit that I was the most impressed with. I was like, yes, this feels exactly like a theme park would have done. They would have put the pillars into those locations. So I wanted to show you that because I didn't get a chance to show you that last week, and it was too soon to show you now. But whilst we're talking about the cable cars, I've kept the station nice and simple, and as promised, I have just used the same station design. There is nothing else to say about this. It is what it is. And it doesn't need to be any more than that. The only thing I will talk about is the positioning on the top of the hill. Now, I did want it to sort of interact with the height of the cable cars a little bit. And I think this station is higher than the station the other side of the lake, so that kind of works quite nicely. In an ideal world, I would have had it level, but you know, it is what it is. But what that's meant is the access road that was down here has had to be moved. I do need to finish the access road. I am very aware that this goes into the side of the hill. That does not work. So I am going to need to fix that at some point. It's on my list of tomorrow jobs. But this is the plaza area that I've pulled together then, and actually it sits quite nicely as it is. As I said, it doesn't need to be any more than this. It's just an access point for a transport ride. You don't need to put anything else. I did toy with having an extra ride down here and having queues and all sorts of fancy stuff going on underneath it, but it just, no, it was too much. So there we go. We left it like that. And then we come to our it's not a disco ride, screaming, whatever this is. It's gone from my head. Maelstrom from Drayton Manor, there you go. This, I think, has turned out better than I thought it was going to, because this was originally all woods, right? This was all forest, and I've had to clear it out, put the queue line in, and this actually now sits quite respectfully within the terrain that it was given. And the idea of doing this weird diagonal pathing technique that I do, which actually gives it that little bit of realism, works perfectly in this space, because it sort of wraps back around itself, and you can contain as much cattle pen queue as you can into this sort of area. Now, of course, the original test flight entrance was down here, and then it wrapped around, so it's now changed, it's now here, and this now just has a different feel. Like, the area just feels different, and it feels more imposing because you've got the new ride there. But this is the sort of sightline that you're now going to get, and it's perfect, and it actually looks really, really good from the cable cars. Like, yes, it's the perfect positioning. And do you know what? It now actually complements Rail Runner quite nicely. That feels like it's complete now, or at least it does to me anyway. Like, you look at it from down this side, it feels like that area is complete. You've got the duo of rides that are sitting here. I love it. I'm so here for it. And like I say, this is such a simple and effective build, but it works. Weirdly, it absolutely works. So like the Insanity sitting here, you wouldn't believe that this is sitting on the same pad as the Zipper did, right? But it is. It's the exact same size. It's the exact same positioning, and it just works. And the parks would do that because they've already got a concrete pad that they could just pre-use or reuse even. All they need to do is just reconfigure the pathway. Now, I put this bit of mulch in down here to give this pathway a bit of like personality. But as I'm looking at it, I'm starting to think that maybe it didn't need it. Like, it would have been fine without it. But hey, I've kept it in. This one definitely did need it. I definitely needed a separator, and maybe in the future the park would come along and plant a couple of trees in here, just generate some shade. But there's things coming, and they will get dealt with then. But what I have also done is I've added in some extra theming around the area, you know, just as area touch-ups, real subtle stuff. So there you go, real subtle stuff. And the other subtle thing, not so subtle thing, area music. Remember we said last week that the park is going to start introducing area music to their rides and to their areas. Well, this is probably going to be one of those times. We've put it in for the Insanity, and we've put it in for the Sundial, and it's also down here too with the drop tower. But before we just go down there, let's have a real quick look at the queue line around the back of the gift shop. Again, it just wraps around by the runaway mine train, and it just works. I'm here for it. It's subtle. This would probably be an overflow queue line, right? So there would probably be a gate or a fence. This piece here would probably be a gate or a fence. Can't do it in game because the fence pieces are too long. But this would be a gate or a fence. They'd shut this bit off, and you just come down this way, and then they would open this one when they needed it for busy days. So we're all good with that. I'm happy with that. And then we've got the drop towers that are living here. The drop towers, that's a plural. The drop tower that's living here, and again I've used the diagonal queue line thing here just to steal some space, because it just doesn't work when you have cattle pens going one way. This feels better. So I've put that in. I've kept this actually quite clear. Again, for reasons that we talked about in the episode where we were doing this pathway in this area up here. You need to keep this as clear as possible so that you can see trains coming. So I didn't want to put trees and foliage and stuff in here. Maybe you'd put some like bushes or flowers or whatever in, but it's new. So this is what it is. And the other thing I did, and this is sort of like starting to make sense in the park now. There was originally the cattle pen extended queue line here for the corkscrew, but actually when I've run some guests through the park, even when I've got 18,000 guests in the park, they're not coming on this ride, so you don't need as much queue line. So what I've done here is I've actually taken it away and I've re-landscaped it and made this pathway now make sense. And you find this in parks quite a bit, where you have reutilized and reused bits of land. So you can see where the original queue line was, because this original Don't Die fencing has stayed in the same place. But what we've done here is we've actually just moved around the foliage and all the dirt and stuff into this area, and then you'll just put some low-level fencing. So it's now a thing, and this would grow up over time, and you would never know that there was a queue line there, but you and I know because we've been following the history of the park. Didn't touch the toilets, I kept that as it is, but this was the final bit that I did. We now have a full lagoon walk that goes from one side of the park to the other. This was important. I finished this at some point. Of course, we started this when we originally put Bob in, so this has been going since like the 40s and the 50s, and we now finally have a full walk around here. Now it's not usable in game, and that's deliberate. I didn't want it to be usable in game because it messes up the AI, and of course the terrain and stuff means that you can't get the ledges and whatever working properly. But I'm alright with this, right? I like how this is. There's the entrance point from here. And of course, the rest of the lagoon walk is the actual lagoon walk anyway. So you don't need to do any more with it. But what I needed to do was just bring this path down here. Put a retaining wall inside this one because I wanted to have the flowers and the foliage. Then I have an access point that's underneath the cable cars because I wanted that interaction point with the cable cars that's going on there. And then, of course, bringing it around this way and then into the original walkway that we've got. I have kept the boats there. I toyed with the idea of moving the boats, getting rid of the boats. Would they be there? Would they not be there? Is it a health and safety nightmare? Is it not? I've kept them in. The park, it feels like the park would still have them, so it's fine. Whether or not I need to do some touching up and have like some staff and whatever, I don't know, but yeah, it is what it is. So there you go. Look at that. It fits in so perfectly. It's almost as if they have always been there, and that is the beauty of this park. We are slowly but surely growing this park up around its history. This is why I'm loving this series. There's so much, and you've seen the history as you're going along, right? There's just so much going on with the, oh, do you remember when this was there and that was there? Like, for example, do you remember flying turns when this was here? Exactly. The park has grown up around the history and it's been respectful to everything that was there previously, but everything that's there now fits. And I love it. That's just why I'm loving this series. So guys, thank you for getting to the end of the episode. I really do appreciate it. Show some love in the usual ways. Like, comment, share, blah, 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 blah. Got a roller coaster next week. Happy days. Till then, look after yourselves. Take care, guys. Bye.